Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm T with Teresa H Creates, and today I want to make a card. I wanted to make a card based on just one piece of inspiration. And for today's card, it's going to be a St. Patrick's Day card. I don't have any St. Patrick's Day stuff in my stash, believe it or not. I've got probably everything else under the sun here, but nothing for St. Patrick's Day because who really sends cards? But I do have this bit of ephemera that I found recently, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to set it aside. I'm going to think about it. I've had it pinned up on my ideas board, and I think I'm going to go ahead and make a card today. So this entire card is based just on this little piece of ephemera that says lucky. Here's what I've pulled together. I've got card bases. I cut two because I have to cut two if I make one. And so I've got two. I'm using the, I use Nina Solar White cardstock for this. I just make all of my card bases from this cardstock. And I'm using the American A2 size. So that's 4.5 or 4.25 by 5.5. I'm also going to be doing some mixed media type stuff. So I'm doing some ink spraying. I've got my box for all my sprays and splatters. So let me set that aside. I have my Misty. This is going to be awkward here. I'm going to try to put together or make my own 4-leaf clover. So I was going to use hearts, and then I was going to use maybe one of these is for the stem. So that's why I've got that out. I am going to die cut hearts from this paper, this green textured paper that I have here. And so I have two sets of nested heart dies. So I have this one, it's kind of a squiggly scalloped edge, kind of a heart. And then I've got this one that has the actual stitched border on it. So I've got those. I have my distress inks in a number of colors because I wasn't sure which one I'm going to use. So I've got pine needles, cracked pistachio. I did pick up the Delusions, and I don't know what this color is. Cut grass. I've also got forest moss, rustic wilderness, and twisted citron. So I figured a mix of them will get it going. I've got a black ink pad. And then I've got two Stampin' Up! Ink pads. I've got Garden Green and Glorious Green. I wasn't sure which I was going to use. I'm thinking about adding some gold splatters. So I've got my metallic watercolors. I've got my watercolor brush. I've got my spray bottle. I'm going to be doing some layering. I'm going to add a bit of gold. So I've got some gold cardstock, some gold foil cardstock there. I'm going to be doing all of my ink spraying on the scrapbook.com heavyweight mixed media paper. This is a 6x8 paper. I'm going to put my little inspiration sheet over here to the side so we can see it, but it's not, it's not in danger of getting lost. I may cut it down and layer it up. And so I pulled some square and some oval dies just in case I decide to do that later. But let's get started. So I've got my card bases. And I think that I'm going to start with the next layer, which would be all of this sprays. I'm going to move this completely out of the way because I don't want that to get sprayed. So I'm opening up my box. I probably should invest in another box. This one has been put through its paces, and I've noticed that the last few times it has actually started to pick up some of those colors there on the back. This is very heavy. I keep checking it to make sure that this isn't 2 pages, but it's so thick. So I'm going to set that there. I'm going to try not to get my fingers completely dirty. So I've got my reverse tweezers, and I'm going to just spray a couple of these, see if I can get colors and patterns that I like. And then I'll narrow down, which one I am going to use. And I did not open all of these bottles, and I should have. Okay, sorry about that. Now I've got all of them opened. So let's see. Let's just try a couple of combinations here to figure out what we're going to like. I like the rustic wilderness. I'm going to give it some sprays. We're just going to try to create kind of a mixed media-ish background. I might toss in some of this twisted citron. Let's see what that looks like. And if you give it some squeezes, you're going to get, if you kind of slow down the pressure, you get the bigger droplets on this. I don't know that I want to add a lot more to that. I may just add a few spritz of water. Let's see what it does. There's some stuff going on down here. Maybe I add something down there. I can put some, let's see, what did we use? I could put some pine needle down there and see what that goes. It's kind of brighter. It's a brighter green, but I think I'm really liking these two colors together. I'm kind of liking the citron and the rustic wilderness. Let me add some citron down here. I'm gonna try to get some drops. Let me add some water down there. See what it does. I'm going to pick this up. See if I can get some drips. It's dripping. Let's move it the other way. Maybe get some drips down this way. I'll probably take a heat gun to this later and see, you know, get it to dry a little bit quicker, see if I can get some more movement out of this. I'm going to set this aside for now though. And I'm going to try a different sheet. I am putting it down here. See, notice down here where the water is, it's picking up those colors. That's what I'm talking about. This is pretty thick though, so I don't think that it's actually going to like soak through this paper, this cardstock, because it is really heavy duty. Okay, more of a teal green, but I am fine with that. And let's try pine needles, because this was kind of brighter too. Okay, I'm kind of liking these two colors together. I give it some sprays. See if we can get some movement. This is just going to be a background piece. I'm going to layer up. A lot of it's going to be hidden. I just wanted to get some, you know, color and some randomness in the background. All right, I'm going to set these aside and I'm going to let them dry for a little bit. And now I've kind of got to figure out how I'm going to make my 4-leaf clover. Let me put the lids on these guys. See, I had my little spray box and I still got little spritzes outside of the box. I do have my Sizzix Big Kick. So I've got my die cut machine, and let me see. I did not grab any scrap paper, but that's fine. We'll go ahead and use this guy. I did go ahead and cut these little strips in there. I want to say they're 6 inches by 2 inches. So let's go ahead and die cut some of these little guys. I think that this size right here is going to be the size that I'm going to want. So let's use that one. These are the stitched heart dies. I'll cut one on camera with you just in case you're a newbie. I'm going to put it down. I've got my sandwich prepped and I've got my plate on there. I'm going to do forward and backwards, get a nice cut, and then there we go. I think that that is going to be the size that I end up needing. I'm pretty sure. All right, I am going to go ahead and cut 4 of these. Okay, I've got my 4th one cut. It seems my oven is going off. I forgot that I have Irish soda bread in the oven, which is purely coincidence. I promise you, purely coincidence. But let me grab that. I'll be right back. All right, I'm kind of just moving this around with my heat gun. I've dried it some, and I've made some, you know, lines. I've got the ink that's still wet kind of moving, and so I put some water down so that I could also continue getting some of this ink to move. Okay, we've got two very different looks going on here. I'm going to set it aside and let it dry some more. And then I kind of want to practice my 4-leaf clover. So let me get my stamping block. And I'm not sure yet if I am actually going to do it in green or black. It really depends, because I'm going to be stamping it out on the paper that we're creating, that background paper. I do have this Tim Holtz collection. It is Love Notes and has all these little hearts on it. And I was thinking that maybe this heart here or this heart here might be my best bet. I don't think that that one is any bigger. This one might be too big. Let's give it a try. I have never actually created a 4-leaf clover using this method. I'm hoping that it works. All right, I'm just going to use this as my scrap. So ideally, I should be able to press these down all around, right? And then I've got my 4-leaf clover like this. That's perfect. That is actually perfect. Okay, so then let's see. Then what I would do is, these would be the shadows. These are actually the perfect size. So I'm going to end up using that stamp. So this is going to be kind of the shadow, this black part underneath. And then I think that if I give these a fold kind of down the center here, if I give them a fold down the center, then when I glue them on, they should stand up like this. So then I've got nice texture, right? I've got this little raised area, and then the black is the shadow. And I think I'm going to end up having to do it in the black instead of the green, just because it is going to be, those backgrounds are going to be so busy and so dark. And I think that the kind of shadow area would be lost. Okay, let me clean this off. This is the block or the stamp that we're using though, so I'm going to leave it on the block. I'm going to go ahead and fold up the rest of these right down the center. So it'll be raised a little bit. Nice. I know that March is usually mass make March, and instead of mass making, I've just been pulling out, you know, single bits of ephemera and making one item at a time. But hey, I'm using scraps. I'm using stuff that otherwise would go unused for who knows how long in my stash. So I may not be mass making, but I am making, and that's the key. So there we go. And then let me go ahead and try out some of these other stamps and see if I can get a stem. I want to say that of these stems, this guy has the longest bit of stem here. I'm going to move these out of the way so that I don't get ink on them and mess those up. Let me set them aside. Let I'm going to practice with this guy. I don't want to get the leaf in there. I just want to get the stem. All right, so where would it come out of actually? Come from here. I'm kind of twisting it up just to see so it's not, there we go. It's not perfectly straight, but then the actual sentiment would go over. Okay, so this will work. Good. I like when I have a plan and it's actually going to come together. I feel like I've got black ink everywhere. Okay. That VersaFine Onyx Black is my absolute favorite stamping ink. However, it is quite juicy, and so it gets black everywhere. I have to be really careful. I get it on my hands and stuff. This has gotten stuck on this ring. I'll fiddle with that later. I want to go ahead and put my dies up though, so that I don't lose any of them. Look at me cleaning up as I go. All right, let's check on our mixed media background pieces. They are almost dry. They look pretty good. I think there's just a few kind of wet spots. Yeah, just a few. This one as well. Just kind of patting it. Very pretty. Just looking for some of the shiny spots. All right, I think that I am going to go ahead and try doing some splatters. Got my metallic accents here. I think it's Prima brand. And I am not affiliated with any company by any means. So when I give you, excuse me, so when I give you the names of certain products, it's just so that you know what I'm using, not to try to sell anything. So I used my water bottle, gave these a little squirt. I might try doing some green splatters. Seeing what that looks like, because they're metallics. They've got this nice mica in them, make it shiny. So let's see. May not even show up, the green. Let's do some on the other side as well. No matter what I do, boxes or not, I always end up with splatters all over. So it's nice and wet. I'm just kind of tapping it. You get these splatters. All right. I'm going to clean that off. Just wipe it down. And then I'm going to go in with some of the gold. And the golds should show up. Make sure I get plenty of pigment on the brush. There we go. You can see the nice gold splatters. And these shouldn't take long to dry, so I'll just let them dry naturally. I'm not going to try to put the heat tool on those. And yes, the heat tool I was using before was my heat gun for embossing, because that's all I have. I don't have the little heat dryer, which after all these years, I can't believe I don't have an actual, you know, air dryer, but I think Tim Holtz sells a nice one. I might invest in one. I haven't needed it in all these years though. I've been using my heat gun, so I don't know. Those of you who have both, let me know. And I've been doing mixed media for a really long time and never felt like I really needed it. All right, I'm gonna clean off my brush. feel like I got larger gold splatters on this guy than I did the other one. You know what? I cleaned it off, but I'm going to go back in. I'm going to go back in, pick up some more of this, and try to get some bigger gold splatters. There we go. And when it's dry and you're looking at it, it's always more than you think. There's always more there than you think. So it's okay to be heavy-handed with it, but just know that it will be covered. It will be covered in splatters. Let's get a close-up so you can see that. I'm going to cut these down in just a little bit, and we'll decide which one is going to be our best for this project. All right, I'm going to put my watercolors away. Put the cover on my brush. See here? Gold splatter. All right, so I'm not sure what size I'm going to end up cutting that panel. So let's go ahead and cut down 2. I'm going to cut, I've got my X-Acto, my huge swing line, not swing line, my huge X-Acto guillotine over here to the side. And I'm going to go ahead and cut down 2 panels. One of them I'm going to cut exactly 5.5 by 4.25. So that will cover the card base completely. And the other one, I'm going to give it a little bit of room. So I'm going to go 5.25. I'm going to give it a little bit of a border. 5.25 by 4. And so this way it's going to have a little bit of a border around it on the card, like this. A little bit of a border. Okay. So I don't know which one I'm going to use, but we've got those cut down, and now let's just wait for our panels to dry, and then we'll start getting it all assembled. All right, I've cut my panels down, and I wanted to go ahead and kind of layer them up and see which one of these I prefer. So let's give it a little bit of a layer. I'm loving the citron in this, but I love this texture over here. These are the panels that were left over after I cut. They're too small to make a card, but I can set them aside and use them for something else at a later date. So now that the panels are on, let's just kind of get an idea of what this will look like. And I don't know, I'm kind of thinking maybe I don't even need the little shadows, do I? I don't know. Maybe I do. We'll try stamping on one of the others to see what that looks like. One of the panels, the leftovers, and then the lucky. So this is what this looks like, this color scheme. And now let's check it out over here. Personally, I think that these colors match a little bit better, but I like the contrast of these. Does that make sense? All still green, but it has a different feel. To me, this feels a little fresher, a little more vibrant. And so I think I'm going to go with this panel, actually. Surprised myself a little bit. All right. And I did cut these panels out to the size of the card, just because I wasn't sure which one I was going to use. And that way I had a little bit of wiggle room. Moment of truth. This is the only panel I have, and I really like it. So I'm hoping that this goes well. Let me set my lucky aside. And I am going to trim this one, this panel that we selected. I'm going to trim it up a little bit to 4 by 5.25. So there's 4. And 5.25. So I'm going to layer it up on the larger of the 2 mats. And I kind of feel like maybe I should put a small gold, a bit of gold behind it. I hope my measurements are right. I just went up 1/8 of an inch. And there. See, look, all the difference in the world. So much better. Perfect. Okay. Before I attach it all, I'm going to go ahead and do my stamping. I am going to pull out some mint tape though to hold it down. I'm going to hold it in place. Got my little bit of mint tape. I'm going to hold this guy in place. I'm going to put Lucky right over here. So I want there to be room for all of these hearts. Sorry if I'm going to get in the way here. Trying to get kind of right above it so that I can see that I'm getting that center space. And then there we go. Oh my goodness, I'm loving it. I am absolutely loving it. All right, let's clean this off real quick. And then it's time to come in for the stem. All right, and be sure to, it's not going to be highly visible, but that Lucky is probably going to go over it. So I kind of wanted it to be there. I think I'm going to do it right off that edge. There we go. Lovely. All right. Close that up before I start getting black ink everywhere. Wipe my hands off again. Then I'm going to use my reversible tweezers, and I've got my art glitter glue. And what do we think? I kind of liked it glued down on one side. I did kind of like that. So I'm going to use my art glitter glue that is not going to cooperate today. I'm getting kind of low. I need a refill for sure. All right, there we go. Now we're working. Love it. Love it. All right, now I need to put my panels together. I'm going to attach this panel using my ATG tape runner. I think in one of my last videos, I kept calling it a tape gun. You know, whatever. Tape runner, tape gun, same thing. It has a trigger. That's going to be covered, so I don't know why I'm fussing with that. Okay. To round or not to round, I think we're not going to round. And because I'm going down on that foil, I am going to use my glue. It'll stick better than the tape on that foil. Plus, it should give me just a little bit of wiggle room because I'm only working with 1/8 of an inch border there. Actually, I think it might even be smaller. There we go. Look at that. Very cool. Okay, I guess I should attach it to my card base now. This is always the tricky part for me. And I've already got those flowers down, those petals down. So I'm going to use glue for this part instead of the tape. If I had thought it through, I would have attached the gold and the cardstock to the card before I actually adhered the petal layer so that I could put tape on the back of it, but this is fine. And I'm just trying to line it up. I don't want white showing around all the edges. And there we go. There we go. And you line it up from the top. That way, if there is white showing, it can be trimmed at the bottom. You can't really trim from the top. But see, I've got a tad bit of white showing there, just a tad bit there. I'm not really worried about it. You can barely see it. But had there been a lot showing, then I definitely would have trimmed. All right, now let's decide what we're going to do with the focal piece. So I've got this focal piece. It all comes down to this. And how am I going to do this? I've got squares and I've got ovals. Nope. And then that's too big. So that narrowed that down. Not doing squares. I do have just some regular ovals, and then I have some stitched ovals. Kind of like that. It's perfect. All right, is this stitched? Nope. It's layered. I think I'm going to layer it up on some gold. So I'm going to do gold, die cut. All right, let me set this aside and pull out my die cut machine. These solids. So that would be this and this. Is that going to be quite a bit? That might be too much gold. We'll see. We shall see. Let me move stuff back so you can actually see what's going on. So I am going to put this here. And then I'm going to apply some mint tape to keep it on there. And then I've got a piece of gold scrap. Let's see, and that will work. I find that if I go to the side, sometimes it doesn't always cut as well. So I'll run it through. That mint tape will hold those dies in place, and then I'm going to run it back through. All right. Let's see what we've got. Let me set this aside. I have made quite the mess. I am a messy crafter. All right, see, and that is just way too big. I don't think there's one of these that's kind of in between. That might be in between. All right. Sorry, that die cut machine moves everything around. Okay. Nope, it fits right in there. And then that fits right there. Look at that. Look at that. We did it. We did it. All right. I'm going to use my glue. That one I did definitely have to roll through twice because it's such thick cardstock, this mixed media cardstock, that it was only going to cut if I rolled it through twice. This almost perfectly lines up with the other. And because it's got that pattern on there, you really can't tell that it's actually a stitched die, whereas these others are not, just because that color is so vibrant and takes up so much of that space. So here we go. Here we go. Look at this. Oh, I'm absolutely loving it. Okay, do we want to pop it up or leave it flat? We've already got some dimension going on. Let's go ahead and do it. These little squares came in a kit. I think it was a card kit. I want to say it was Spellbinders, but I'm not 100% sure. It might have been a different card kit. I'm going to use a series of these little squares, 1,000,001 of them apparently. I still want to make sure that it's nice and flat and there aren't a lot of dips. Although this cardstock that's on here is pretty sturdy, so I don't know that it would dip anyway. It is pretty solid. Right there. And there we go. That is it. How do you like that? I'm going to leave the center open. I'm not going to try to shove anything in there. I think it's fine to make it look a little bit like a pinwheel. I like that one side's glued and the other side's kind of up like this. I'm loving the colors, the contrast. And so this is our card from one piece of inspirational ephemera. And we've got an entire card. Happy St. Patrick's Day. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions for me, leave them down in the comment section. I'll be sure to comment. If you liked this video, please give me a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. And until next time, bye.